First game of the NLC Grand Finals. We've set our expectations for the draft. Now it's really time for these teams to show up. Who can take first blood in this best of 5? And as we were saying before we got into the action, the answer is no one. Just completely lose all that, but X7 definitely have drafted themselves a easier to execute comp. I think that's completely fair. Yes. You guys definitely nailed that on the head. For the side of Dusty, you know, it's not like they haven't got avenues. It's not like they don't have tools to take this game.
I would say that I personally voted as for Buckland as my MVP of the split. I feel like if we're talking about a Cinderella story and the development and the shine of a player, I feel like his development from spring to summer has been a truly huge glow up for the player. Yeah. He went into being feared just for his LeBlanc to being feared for any assassin that will land in his hands over in summer, whether that assassin is Yone, whether it's Yasuo. We've seen Sylas, we've seen Akali, we've seen his LeBlanc and the solo balls that he could put down on the Rift. And if you put a player like this under a lot of pressure, right? Because you rely on his Akali to find the mark in the backline. It's not the easiest thing when you've got four tanks on the opponent team and one squishy, which is Attila on that Zeri. It's very difficult to get there, but I think if anything, if you rely on someone, Backland would be that someone to execute that.
And I had to spend half of this split apologizing to Backland because in spring I was like, first couple of weeks, that even as LeBlanc was starting to fail a little bit, he was over diving, miscalculating, and suddenly in summer I'm like, oh man, this guy might be our best mid laner. Oh, what the heck, this guy's awesome. And he's had such a great split. And in this game, a lot of that burden of execution is going to return back to him. We're going to continue to check in with that as this game goes, because it is going to be a bit of an uphill battle. And Dusty will have to show that this is a combo that, much like the other ones, has been well practiced. That improvement through this split, if it allows them to play this comp, I'm here for it.
Should we talk a little bit about the junglers as well? Because we haven't really hit on these guys. Viking and Linkus, I think they have very, very different styles to one another.
I actually wanted to say that the fact that Viking provided so much stability on this X7 lineup has given them a bunch of their Ws. He doesn't necessarily have to be the carry, he doesn't have to be the flashy player. He has to be their consistent player that will pick key champions that will fit the narrative of the composition that X7 wants to play on the day. And if he feels like carrying, he damn well can carry on the Rek'Sai as we saw in the XL series, right? But something that has always stuck with me, especially when Viking is playing that Jarvan, is that he's not necessarily playing the Jarvan that we've seen Haru or Malrank, for example, play over in the LEC, where you'll see him level 3, level 2, level 4, level 5, level 6, perma ganking a lane and taking summoners away.
I love what X7 just did there. Now, they don't commit to any big play at level 1, but Braum, of course, is one of the strongest level 1 champions in the game, and they get a ward on one side of the map. Process of elimination means that you know where the jungler is starting and on what buff, but Linkus is hanging about in that mid-range brush just to see if anything did happen. That is going to go down towards blue, and this is now important for X7. They know where the enemy jungle is starting, and that's a big win condition for Dusty.
But that was a very slow start. 126, Linkus was still in that mid lane bush, hovering around Buckland, so he's about 2 to 3 seconds behind because his support had to start the blue buff. So because they were on vision, he still is on vision, they can actually time this to possibly get an early gank in with the Jarvan that's going to be ahead in the clear.
So if that is going to be an early gank, though, you don't necessarily want to be throwing that bot side. Braum is not the easiest champion to follow up with early game. There's a cull on Attila on Zeri, and of course this guy is going to start scaling up crazy on.
Hashtag we're scaling, boys.
Hashtag we're scaling, because yeah, with that cull, you're not going to have the same immediate impact. Again, Dusty's bot lane, happy to sit off of it.
Right, so look at what Viking is doing. He's doing the quickest path to level 3, and this could be their mid lane or top lane gank. He did red into Wraiths. On the other side of the map, the only thing that can get you level 3 after this is that Gromp. So he's going to get that level 3 and potentially head towards the top side of the map. As you will see, Chasey is building up a wave, which will slow push towards the top side of the map. On the other hand, Linkus, if you see, still level 2 on that Zinzao, also heading towards the top side.
We'll see if they actually decide to go for that. It does look like, for now, he's just picking up that blue. Could also go mid, as you kind of hit on as well. Backland, half HP, has obviously still got his summoners, but is slowly burning through his pots. As Backland definitely struggling early in this lane, as you kind of expect from the Akali versus Sylas lane. It is a lane which can be a little bit more punishing, but Viking now making moves either into the jungle or actually is just hanging around here in the river. So he looks to maybe be hunting Linkers down.
I mean, he's got options, right? Because all he wants to do is make sure that his lanes are surviving, and this is something that Viking has done oh so well for his team. We know that X7 have incredible individual carries. They just got to survive through to the point of relevancy. And again, Viking spots out Linkers, knows which camps are down, sees that his solo lanes are pushing in and his bot lane isn't going to be under threat, secures their lanes, and job is done.
Absolutely, and I think also the fact that you do have a Sejuani with a bunch of melees, right? Temp can push in the lane, move towards the top of the map together with Viking. That passive is going to stack really quickly from Sejuani. But also going back to that mid lane matchup, usually you see Sylas into a bunch of ranged champions, a bunch of mages, and he really does suffer. So what usually Sylas will do is trade a bunch of his HP to push the wave. Here in this particular matchup, because the Akali is a melee, because her kit threat comes after level 6, and because he has so much sustain through his own kit when he is playing into a melee, you see how Temp is able to bully backline away.
What I will say about Temp, though, is that, I mean, he's taking what is kind of like, it's a bit of a flippy matchup. You can take one bad trade and things get a little awkward, particularly when you've got stuff like Doran's Shield. Just getting in a single auto isn't really enough. You need to actually burst out. He's taking what is already kind of like quite a flexible matchup and making it just for much better. And that is a testament to this guy. He takes any matchup and makes it just a little more in his favor.
Now, something that I would like to, in general, keep an eye out for this series is they pointed out it at the desk as well, is the fact that all the laners from the set of X7 are always ahead in CS at that minute 14. And right here, I'd like to see what they can do versus Dusty, because we haven't seen a best of 5 versus Dusty. Dusty are these sort of laners where they will have pretty good push, their laning is really good, their CSing is really good, and they usually farm to go for these later on team fights. So I'd like to see how they pair up and how little do they lose compared to any other team that has played against X7.
Well, it's definitely been a more reserved start to this game. I think all the players kind of finding their land feet, I guess is probably the best way to word it. Because, you know, for some of these players, it's actually been a while. It's been a very long time because, you know, some of these guys may have no experience, some have a little bit of experience on LAN. Obviously, you know, when you look at X7, there are a fair few big names there who definitely have way more experience than the others on that front. But even so, with, you know, the fact the world was on fire a couple of years ago, everyone was playing at home. So it is a bit of a learning process to kind of get back when you got the lights. You know, we're only a couple meters away from the casters as well. It's all of those things.
I hope
it does get to you.
You were more than a couple of meters away from the casters. Things would get pretty awkward at that point. Hey, Jake, what's happening over there on your screen?
The casters aren't a couple of meters away. We're a couple of meters from the player.
But yeah, we've made sure we went over and greeted some of the players, put some faces to names, which is great for us too, right? Being able to actually meet some of these folks in person, kind of see our bit of the community. But Dusty, in particular, we're looking over them. Yeah, and some of them were saying, yes, it's been a couple of years since you've had to play in a LAN environment. Yeah. Hearing the other voices of your teammates in person at that point, the enemy team, seeing them, there's a little bit of nerves to it, especially in such a high-stakes scenario. Well, speaking of high-stakes scenarios, it looks like both of the junglers are now down here on the bottom side. Kasing takes a cheeky beat drop, and Linkus is just helping the lane crash in. Viking is holding up in case he can find an opportunity to jump forward, and Dusty, I think they smell something there. They are just going to back off and play this a little bit more reserved. But most crucially, that wave didn't get to properly crash.
Then that is the most important thing, right? Viking was there because he knew Linkus was going to be there to try and help that bot lane crash that wave towards the bot, which means your support gets the first turn on the map, which means we're looking at Sten to potentially make a play. I'm expecting him to possibly go around mid. Backland has just TP'd back into lane. Tempt is there as well, trying to get that Akali ahead in the early game could be huge.
Yeah, so for the thing which I kind of wanted Dusty to do, I wanted them to be aggressive early, use Linkus as a bit of a Jin Zhao wrecking ball. Yeah. Normally you see a support join in that kind of fracas at the third wave, when you get that first crash of the game. This isn't the first crash, this is kind of coming up towards like the second or the third turn, so you kind of get to do that. And Sten is out on the map, does have that first move, but as you can see, X7 actually playing very well. All of their lanes are at tower. They're not losing any farm for this. Sten has no options. The second opportunity Dusty had to really be aggressive on the map has been shut down.
And I'm giving huge props to X7 because the second stand back, X7 were pinging the Nexus.
Hold on. Backland, he's been clipped by the Q from the Brawn, but he's not out yet. Tempt is going to get himself locked in with all of the CC, but the exhaust comes down. Solar Flare available to Tempt, and the E jumps forward there. They're trying to catch out, but it looks like X7 are able to get away from this attempt by Dusty in the mid lane. Backlund burnt his ultimate. Tempt still has that Solar Flare, so Backlund needs to be careful as he takes another Winter's Bite to the face.
But also check this out. That was 4 members committed in the mid lane from the side of Dusty to try and crush that wave or even get a kill, and they got none of that.
Oh,
Chasey!
no! Linkus is down! There it is! First blood for the side of X7. Curb's been locked as well. Gets himself a tactical sweep off, but he is going oh so low, trying to get that additional damage out from the Q, but slowly but surely he is run down, and Viking will take the second kill.
I mean, win lane, win game. He doesn't just do that. Chasey finds the enemy jungler and makes him into his target as well. Sejuani's base damages, particularly at that level 6, are absolutely absurd, and Linkus is completely caught flat-footed.
I'm actually a bit disappointed from Linkus because Sejuani was pinged moving down the river, and you knew that Viking was in that mid lane fight, getting caught off guard. And Kebros right there is going to lose a bunch of his advantage in the top lane with the wave. Chase is getting a kill, Viking's getting a kill, and right now we were mentioning about the CS discrepancies that are starting to build up. Look at top lane, 20 CS up. Look at mid lane, Tempt is going to be up after he pushes that wave as well. And bot lane is about 20 CS up for Attila as well. So our question was, how little can Dusty lose versus the X7 laners? And so far, the answer has been as much as everyone else has.
So now, really looking to see if Dusty can land a counterpunch somewhere, but, you know, having lost a little bit of a time on the map, particularly now Linkus is falling behind a little bit in terms of ability to just be out there, Dusty don't really have any options. They have sparing vision as well. They've got something to help Kerberos come in, but as you were saying, actually, Chasey with actually a really well-timed permafrost to stop the hookshot landing onto, well, carrying Kerberos further away from that wall, shuts down that lane. So it doesn't. This is now defensive vision for Dusty. It's not even offensive vision, and this is really problematic. Again, this draft needs to be ahead.
Yeah, and also the big thing as well here for X7, off the fact that they just got those kills top lane, is something that we touched on as well during Champ Select. There are lots of win conditions right now for X7. They don't have to just play through Viking or Tent. You know, Attila can still be there. They have so many champions that they can play around and actually set themselves up. Dusty losing that out early, really, really going to be hard for them on that front, as the Rift Herald is going to get started up here by X7. To pick this one up, and my question is where do they want to put that? Where do they want to give that gold? Who is going to be the recipient of that plate gold?
I think this could either go towards Attila or Tempt, but one of the most important things is that when your opponents have full melee compositions and they have to walk really close to the wave, that means you get to siege for free if you do get the Rift Herald. So I really like the commitment and the time management right there from X7 to get that Rift Herald, because once the Akali is alone in the mid lane without tower, once Camille is 2 overextended without a tower, you can really capitalize on these picks.
So I guess the one worry is if you're starting to commit to a heavy Herald play and you get caught out by the first Leona ult of the game, if that happens in a similar timing, we'll see when Stun levels up to that point, must be close. And then you have a huge follow-up coming in from Dusty. The first ults of the game from Red Side Draft are pretty huge in this one, but they're not going to have a chance to use them here.
Kerb's being caught. He's got the hook shot. He needs to time it right. The Cataclysm comes down. Kerb, remember, no flash, so he is down. Viking picks up his second kill. He has the Rift Herald. He actually might hold off on using it and would rather give the gold over to Tempt on that Sylas.
I just want to see the replay to see what Kebros was actually doing halfway across the map, because he had a humongous wave pushing towards underneath his tower. So all you need to do is just sit there and absorb the minions. But he gets caught yet again by that Sejuani damage, and it's nothing to laugh about. That Sejuani is literally a better iteration of an Ornn right now when it comes to damage.
Yeah, you know, like, well, yeah, Brawn Brittle procs and then the permafrost from Sejuani, very similar mechanics in that regard. But Chasey, if we're going to talk about players being a little bit nervous on land, maybe having to find their land feet, Chasey is getting off to a flying start. Knows his damage, doesn't even use the Ignite in that last play, and gets away with a huge play to, again, destabilize one half of the map.
Well, here you go, Trouble. You're going to get that replay once again.
So Kerberos dives into the Herald pit and start making his way up. And he will actually stop for the pink wards, which to me is a little bit criminal here, because you know that Chasey is roaming around that river and you see a huge wave towards the top of the map. So the dive into the Herald pit was a little bit of a whoopsie for me.
It's also kind of a result of what we see happening with the jungle matchup too. In the very early game, you can see Xin Zhao kind of stopping Jarvan from making a lot of those aggressive plays, but by X7 kind of landing those first couple of punches in this match, getting that vision down, having Viking be able to move up into the enemy jungle. Viking hasn't been spotted pretty much across the map from Dusty. Dusty are very much on the back foot in terms of these plays and in terms of the information they have to make these plays.
Well, we're on the back foot in terms of gold as well. As we hit that 11-minute mark, there is a gold lead over to the side of X7. They got themselves 3,000, about 2,000 up actually, to be completely fair. And that has resulted in Sejuani having a full item already finished up. Everybody else is on those components, but with that Rift Herald in pocket and still got a bit of time left for Viking to use, he could use that to just ensure that this Everfrost comes through very quickly for Tempt. And then once that Silas has Everfrost, playing a Kali in this matchup is rough. There's so much crowd control. It's a lot more reliable for him to land the E. And it looks like Dusty actually just helping Backland push this wave into Tempt's face.
And I think one of the most important things is that we also pointed our finger to Viking. We're like, your Javan doesn't look that aggressive in the early game. It's really good getting the Cataclysms later on. Right now, this guy has been on almost 100% of the kill participation through the back of Chasey, finding the picks for sure. But right now, that Javan has the gold drinker completed, which means you want to take the fight to Dusty.
Tempt did actually throw out the ultimate there, so he has that second half of the perfect execution, but he's not going to fire it quite yet. Chasey is down here though, and it looks like X7 are committing to use this Rift Herald in the mid lane, although Viking's backing off, so maybe they're thinking twice about it. They've still got a little bit of time, but when I say a little bit, I do mean just a little bit of time left on that Herald, and it's actually a very fast rotation towards the bot side, because Dusty, they committed resources into the mid, and now they get caught, their trousers around their pants, and Viking slams the Herald down in the mid lane.
Yeah, why not give more gold to the Zeri, right? You just pop that Cull, get a couple of plates. Telic manages to hit that tower. Are they going to be... Ooh, pops the Altars, Linkus.
Ooh. That was very close though, because Dusty committed almost 4 members towards that bot side of the map. But the second they saw Tempt Pema pushing that mid-wave, Backland actually had to reply. So yet again, X7 getting that money into the Zeri. The call has been completed as well. So we might have the first completed item for Attila right before that second dragon fight.
But once again, it's a defensive play from Dusty. It's not them going on the offensive. They're using tools to try and kill a Herald. It's not like you're trying to get a big dive, get one of your solo laners ahead. And even though you've got a Braum into Leona definitely has the roam advantage there. Kasing has actually managed to show up a couple of times mid, and I think we can really see the power of X7 just individually. Their laners doing well early. See it from Chasey, see it from Tempt, and then the rest of the team just adhering to that style and say, all right, we'll just support them. We'll be there on the defense. Has got them into such a good position that Dusty are, I mean, even just a couple of, well, just the early game into it, running out of options.
Yeah, and this is why we call X7 the win game team, because this is how they play, and when they're winning their lanes, they know how to play the game out. They're very, very intelligent at playing from ahead. That is their key strength as a team, and right now, they are firing on all cylinders in this first game. Kerberos, he's been caught out twice. He's had a rough go of it. Linkus, kind of invisible, really, on the Xin Zhao. Hasn't really been able to have any impact, while Viking, on the other hand, has just been finding picks, finding opportunities for his team, and it's just been very intelligent play from X7 in this first game.
And honestly, all I'm seeing on the side of X7 is 4 mid shields and Attila on that Zeri. So once the items of HP and resistances start coming in from X7, who's your most consistent damage? Because you've got an Enchanter down bot lane, that's not going to burst through any tank. You've got an Akali who only wants to hit the squishy, and same for the Camille. So they don't necessarily have any AD or AP consistent damage dealer to burn through these tanks. So if you don't kill Attila in the fights, the fight will go wrong for Dusty.
And that's why immediately when I saw this draft, because you are completely right, you don't even have an AD carry. You are not matching late game DPS. You need to find a way to at least get one winning matchup right. But suddenly you've got Silas, who's been pushing in early, Silas, who's inherently fairly good in side lanes anyway, and a Sejuani that has been popping off. You're not even going to win individual matchups. So you're likely going to be struggling in those late game team fights when things are grouped up. You're likely going to be struggling outside of that. Dusty, well, they're going to have to do some problem solving, because we've done a workshop on the desk, we've done our homework, and we ain't coming up with positive answers here.
We're not, but Dusty are actually looking for something. They're going to get this Herald here in the top side while they lose their bot lane tower to Attila. Attila was able to get a whole bunch of injection of cash into him as Chasey comes to check out and see what's going on. Linkus is going to pick that up, and Again, the question for me is, where is that going to get used? Are they going to try and get some gold into backland, or maybe enable Curb in a side lane on this Camille? There are still a few options to them on that front.
Now, usually when you take the second Herald, you're looking at which lane can we open first that cannot be defended very easily. And as you will see, X7 also have a bunch of melees on the roster, on their composition, and a Zeri. So wherever the Zeri is not, you can pop that Reduced Herald and actually open up the map. My guess would be probably around that mid lane to try and threaten potential dives from the sides when there's Fog of War. Talking about Fog of War.
Curb almost getting caught, but he's going to be okay. Pops the Blasco and gets over the wall to safety. Dusty still a little bit on the weaker half here. Curb waits until X7 reveal themselves to actually defend this tower. Very smart from him. Doesn't want to get caught out again, but it does cost him a lot of tower damage. Demolish proc used by Chasey. Another wave crashing in. So that tower could be getting ever so lower. There's a Tempt and Backland answering each other out on the bottom side of the map right now. There's a lot of pings coming down towards this mid lane. Denvoxy doesn't quite land the beat drop, and it does look like X7 are just going to be able to scatter away for now.
It does seem like Dusty are trying to slow down the game a little bit as well. They're not over-forcing. They're not feeling too desperate yet. But they're going to have to find some plays somewhere. Trying to look.
Oh, Solar Flare, they get the two-man knock up. The Encore is blocked out by the Braum Wall. And now Linkus is in low HP. Backline trying to find the assassination off, but he's been locked down. And Hasty is the second charge of the ult to get away. There's the Everfrost onto 2. And there's the turnaround Encore. Backline flashes away to safety. Hit by the Zeri. Tower shots coming in onto Chasey, but he's able to survive. And the tower's now doing a lot of damage. Temp slowed down, but Temp will survive. X7 find 1, and they lose nobody on the other side.
Tempt uses the Encore better than Denvoxne can. That Braum shield was huge. I was just about to call Dusty, not call them out, but say actually maybe it's a positive thing that they're looking to slow down the game, and then suddenly they get desperate and they overreach on that play.
And I think if we look through the replay, the only reason they're overreaching is because Kerberos is picking up a fight with Chasey. Kerberos does not have a TP to join, but Chasey does. And because Kerberos is taking the fight onto this Sejuani, they feel safe to play the 4 versus 4. But we also didn't mention Denvoxne. His positioning, his ult timing is going to have to be pristine, because that shield from Braum can always stop your ultimate from going any further. And X7 right now have taken every single outer tower, which means that Dusty are going to have to be extremely careful walking into their jungle, especially when there's so much Fog of War. And I just want to say this again, look on your minimap right now for the Camille and the Sejuani, because they're literally going at it, and Viking gets caught on the side as well. So they're like, cool, we can make this a 4v4, we can land a huge ult, which doesn't happen, gets blocked straight up by Braum.
Yeah, and that Braum, again, this isn't even going to be the problematic part of the game for the Braum. It's going to be later on when suddenly those few seconds where you can't hit the targets behind him are going to be the amount of time that they need to DPS you down. X7 at this point, they feel bold enough that they can even dive down on turrets. Sure, I mean, Linkus very nearly collects something on the back end of it. You see that X7 very intently watching that from the back rooms as well.
Oh
my
back into
god,
the
that's
action!
a Cataclysm!
3-man Cataclysm, the Encore once again blocked out. Sejuani on low, Denvoxne down, and down goes Attila. He's out. Kerberos slides into the fight, and Dusty are actually starting to pick up a couple of kills here. They've got the momentum, they've got the double kill onto Backland. Just like that, Dusty are slowly but surely picking X7 apart, one by one. Tempt gets the Kingslayer heal, and suddenly it's gone oh so wrong. A triple kill onto Viking. Curb, the only member standing versus these members of X7. Quadra kill over the Viking.
And this was a play that Dusty should have won. We said how difficult it would be for Backland to get through the entire front line and find his target. Well, guess what? The Akali does find the target, but when you don't have consistent damage to burn through all of the tanks will take you down.
Is this League or is this rugby or something? That was a scrum. Everyone just bashing each other over the head. One of the things you see when you have so many melees in the game from across all roles really is this massive amount of low-range fighting. There's so much AoE, and I really want to praise Viking in so many ways in this fight. He gets like multiple per man knockups and just keeps the CC flowing.
But look at Backland here, because he finds his target instantly. We said it was going to be really difficult. He has to make it happen. Well, he does make it happen right here. He dispatches off Attila. He dispatches off Kasing as well. But then again, the high damage of the higher level Sejuani and Javan is coming through. And also the Sylas being able to sustain through all of these melees permanently hitting him means that you do win out. And again, the consistent damage that is not there to burn through these tanks will be a problem for Dusty.
And it's such a Cinderella save here from Viking in a fight that honestly looked incredibly Dusty favored. This is the guy who has come up absolutely huge for the side of...
we're going again.
And we're going back into the brawl. Chasey jumps in, solar flare onto 2. That's an encore from Dem. Voxney into the beat drop. Backland slides through.
Oh!
It's not going to be enough. X7 are deleting Dusty members one by one. Attila is alive this time. And Dem Voxney will fall to Viking. 8 kills to the Jarvan. And X7 are popping off in game number 1.
And it's the second fight in the same place, but it is not a rewrite of the story because X7 come out ahead. This time they even have Attila alive in there. The AD carry keeps pumping out damage.
And as you will see again in this fight, this also starts in Dusty's territory. It's Kerberos trying to engage on Attila, and then the second that Sejuani joins the fray, he's 1, 2, 3 levels above everyone. He gets to tank the entire backline of Dusty, and as you'll see here, Backland does not have access into this backline, and the second everyone piles up from Dusty, they get absolutely demolished by the Zeri.
Viking is putting on an absolute show for us on this job. These last couple of fights, landing so many flag drag combos, allowing like a 4-man Zeri W to hit after.
And I just want to reiterate here how Viking was the MVP for Dusty for their playoffs run back in spring 2022. He popped off on the Jarvan, he brought in his Rek'Sai, he absolutely wrecked and got 3rd with Dusty, and right here he's playing his old team that helped reach 3rd, possibly taking them down in the grand finals.
And ever since he's joined X7 as well, X7 haven't dropped a series. They have looked unbelievable. They've been unstoppable with this man, and he is having such a monster performance in game number 1 versus Dusty. And it's 2 fights back to back where I'm like, oh, Dusty is setting up pretty good here. And then they crumble, and it's Viking who keeps making them fall apart in these fights.
I mean, credit to Dusty. I thought this game was pretty put to bed by that point, honestly. And they find 2 fights which I would not have thought they could have found. But Dusty, they know their combos. That's something that we know from this. Now, problem is, they've bought into 2 fights. They've lost 2 fights. It gets harder each time you lose. It's going to be an even harder battle still at this point.
Something that I'm a big fan of for the side of X7 is their itemization. They know they can out-bruiser Dusty. They know that Dusty doesn't have any consistent damage on their side. So everyone is a big tank.
He's in trouble here. They're looking for a good encore. It's only going to hit onto 2, but they're underneath the tower. The solar flare comes in. Then Voxney finds a shutdown. Curb jumps forward. The flash comes over the wall from Viking. Attila's still untouched. Backland looking for Viking. Pops himself the W to stay alive. Viking slams in. Then Voxney's caught, and Viking immediately pops the hourglass. Attila still remains untouched. Sten's trying to deal with him. As Sing is going to be taken down by Kerberos, but it's still Tempt on the back as Attila 1 versus 2 comes up huge. Curb may fall to him. How the hell does he keep getting away with it? Attila is an absolute god. Triple kill.
We're screaming, Attila's screaming, everyone's screaming. What's this guy doing on this champion?
This would have been another fight where Dusty wins. That was a 4 versus 5. You have no freaking business. But right before this fight was about to break out, I started mentioning the itemization, the Hex Drinker into the Gold Drinker, the Hourglass into the Everfrost, the Shield Bow into the Phantom Dasher top lane. You've got so much tankiness and the Frozen Heart coming through. There is no consistent enough damage for Dusty to break through all of this sustain and tankiness from the side of X7.
Just watch Attila. Just watch Attila. He had so many people on him, and he refused to go down.
The way that he manages to hold on to his summoners and his ultimate and his dash to keep space is utterly sublime. I also think Viking, look how much damage he soaks up with his own stopwatch in this fight too. Gets the knockup, goes here. Ooh. You can see that the Akaliar comes in, other sources of damage blocked out, and Viking manages to buy himself another lease on life when he should have been down at the start of it, and it just buys so much space for Attila to do this.
And also the fight was so broken apart from some point. Like, when Dusty was winning, that's because they were stuck up as 4 members. The Seraphine was shielding and healing everyone. And Attila pulls off the fancy play as well for the triple kill. It's just so...
He is feeling the energy
He's
from
the
that.
Yankos of the NLC.
Oh, it's so good to watch. I also want to give a big shout out to Kasing. Kasing has constantly denied Demvoxny from these
Oh,
encores.
the TP, the
And they are
TP.
coming in with the teleports. They're looking for the lockdown, but again, the encore goes wide. Linkus is dead. Attila finds his 6th kill, and the solar flare will lock a couple of people and place the chains from Tempt into the Everfrost. Vikings low HP, but he's shut down by Curb finally. Maybe Dusty have enough juice in the tank, but everybody's jumping over the wall. Here comes Attila to take them down. Backlund, the only standing member for the side of Dusty. We are in the abattoir because Dusty are being slaughtered in game number 1.
See if they want to finish here. There are some respawns coming up fairly quickly. They'll at least take the inhibitor, but you know what? We said that this draft was risky from Dusty. They left open a lot of power picks, and they gave Attila, Zeri. I think we can confidently say that should not happen again. We thought we should probably say that leading into this series, but it's been reiterated again. You cannot give the best AD carry on the patch to the best AD carry right now on stage.
Absolutely agreed, and I think Dust are going to have to pull a miracle right here. I think somehow Backline's going to have to find the backline, Kerber's going to have to find the backline. I think having red side, having the R5 for Kerberos, this has been a little bit of an underwhelming game. I think this is where the whole collapse started, and if they want to find a comeback here, that Camilla is going to have to pay her dues and find the backline. Linkus, again, you cannot overstep from the side of Dusty because every single member from X7 has your number. You see here, Viking dives in, but look at the chains from Temps. He'll use the Leona ult and then land max range chains on the Voxney.
And actually, Temp built up a Medjai's just before this fight. He maxed out the Dark Seal, got 10 stacks, and he gets so much kill participation in this fight that he goes right up to 22 after this. It just adds insult to injury. X7, they are really snowballing the fights.
Oh, wait a second.
Sten might be going for the big 0-6 there as Attila got like 8 kills on him. 4 item Zeri. Absolutely monstrous coming in from him, and that Wit's End as well. Meaning the AP threats are just that less scary.
Yeah, because the AD threats are not scary at all from the side of Dusty. It's literally the Seraphine and Buckland on that Akali doing any sort of damage. X7, no, they want to take him down.
Oh, this might just be huge, but they only get the charm blocked out once again. And there is the wombo. Demvoxny goes golden, but he is sent to the grey screen. Curb can't do anything but watch as his team fall one by one. Kasing holds fast and refuses to go down. It's almost a clean sweep from X7. Only Sten, only Backland standing as the inhibitor will fall down. And that is 2 down inhibitors right now for the side of Dusty.
I think we'll see TP's coming in as well. Tempt is all the way back in base. He does have the teleport. He's got a bullet. They can end right here.
This looks to be the end here for Dusty in game number 1 of this best of 5. Towers will crumble. Nexuses will be left exposed. And Dusty, they had a plan, but it did not come to fruition. Game number 1, going to X7.
We said a lot about